Property management is the most important recruitment. And if you get that part of your business wrong, then every other thing, I can bet you, will not work out. Hello, everyone. It's good to have us here again. So today we are discussing property management, the key to unlocking success. The major reason why we are concentrating more on property management is because it's the most important recruitment as an asset manager or as an investor. If you get that part of your business wrong, then every other thing, I can bet you, will not work out. Because these are the guys that help you run the day-to-day activities of the property. Because the idea is for you to scale and for you to do other multifamily, because you don't need to spend so much time managing a property when you can have them run it for you and you go get another one and continue the process all over again. So property management is the most important recruitment. And the beautiful part of it is that if you are a deal finder or an underwriter, you should have them as your friend because they are the ones that will help you with your acquisition. And let me tell you why. It's very wrong for you to bring in a property manager when you are at the verge of closing a deal. The reason is because these property managers have local experience of that market. They know things because they run similar properties in that market. They know things that might happen because they normally do a constant market survey. This is something they do because it helps them to push rent. So they conduct this even without you, not because of you. They are doing it because of other businesses that they're running. So when you have them and have their perspective at the beginning, it just helps your deal a lot better. They will tell you if that deal will work out or not. Some of us are familiar with brokers telling us that this deal will give you 7 cap, will give you 8% average cash on cash. You know, we all know that brokers are not the best people to get a reliable answer from or reliable idea form. So why do I think that property management company are the best people you should get your answers from? Is because one, if they give you the wrong answers and they're the ones managing it, then they'll be faced with a problem. Nobody wants to carry a property with liability. They, as much as possible, want to limit it. So this is the reason why they are very key to your success. So how do we get them? Because that's another challenging thing. The last time we spoke, we said mainly from referrals, and there are other ways you can go on internet and get them. But truth be told, there are many property managers out there that are well schooled. They know what to say. They have the right words. They can tell you anything they want to say, but when you put them on the job, it's just disaster. So how do we pick out the good ones from the bad ones? The point is, we really don't know until you get them on the job. That's the truth. Because they can, there are some people, I remember back then in school, there are some people that are very, very good. They can tell you things, but put them in action, they don't know how to do it. Something similar. So we just need to be careful, double careful when we are dealing with recruiting or getting a property manager. So what are the questions that we need to ask when interviewing a property manager? So we've listed out some questions. It's not limited to this, but these are the standard or the fundamental questions that you should go through with your property manager. Why are you doing this? Why is this process very important? Because one, you want to even save yourself the stress of issues. Because any point in time you have a property manager on your property, you are one, losing money, you're losing time, you're not going to execute your business plan, and the deal might fail. Because a deal has a plan, like you have a time to get out of the deal or the time to refinance or the time to sell, any time lost it can affect the end result. So as much as possible, you want to do this right at the beginning. But this does not mean that you cannot afford to change them while on the deal and all that. So these are things we'll also discuss later on in this session. Sample questions to ask when interviewing a property management company. How long have you been in the business in this area? The reason why this question is important because the more local that they are, the more they understand the market. Like you using a property manager in Dallas to run a property in Pennsylvania might just be a disaster. So you want to avoid all these nationwide property managers. And the reason is because they are in every market, but they are master of none. So you're looking for a property manager that is local, that understands the market, and when things are changing, is going to take the right decision. So you want to avoid nationwide kind of property management company. The next question is, what is the size of the property you manage? The reason why you want to ask this is because some of them are specialized in some number of assets. Some of them might be very truthful with you when having that conversation that they don't manage properties above 50. I've had that conversation when I was in search of a property manager in Oklahoma, and the property management company said, oh, sorry, we typically do not handle any property above 50. So you want to ask that question, what property do you manage, or what size? And because you need to know their capacity. If they don't have the capacity to run the property, then there's a problem. Properties that are below 50 have a different business plan. Properties that are above 50 have another business plan. Properties that are above 50 typically do not need a stay-in property manager. The ones that are modern need a stay-in manager. So the capacity for both is different. So you want to be sure that they manage properties of similar size as the one you want to purchase. What's your management fee? Like what I said, properties that are below 50, the way they charge for their management fee is different from properties that are above 50, the way they charge for their management fee. So smaller properties charge between 8 to 12%, while the bigger ones charge between 5 to 3%. And the reason is because of the business, the way you run it. Smaller properties do not have the ability to produce the income that can pay for a stay-in maintenance or a payroll people. Who are the payroll people? The property manager, the maintenance people, the leasing officer. Properties like that, it does not produce enough income to have those people on ground. So that is why a property manager that specializes in the smaller units might not be able to manage a bigger one. Whereas the bigger one, the property produces enough income, can produce enough income to take care of those expenses. So smaller properties typically are between 8 to 12%, while the bigger ones are between 3 to 5%. So you want to be sure and do your underwriting properly. What is the process of handling repairs? So for the boats, there are different processes of handling and repair. The smaller ones, it's on a case-by-case basis. When there's an issue, they will send in someone, and there's something they normally do not disclose. You need to ask when you're interviewing them, what is your hidden charges? There are some hidden costs that they will not unveil to you when you are recruiting them, but when you take them up, you start seeing those things manifest. So there are different types of costs that comes in as hidden costs. Costs for bringing down a technical person, like a maintenance person, to come and fix something on a smaller property. For a smaller unit, when there's a repair or an order from a tenant, the property management company will call in, let's say it's an electrical issue, we'll call an electrical third-party vendor to come down. The third-party vendor comes down and he gets paid from your income, which is okay. But the property manager takes charges on any vendor that they bring on ground. So you need to ask them, how do you go about repairs? What charges or commission do you take if you have to bring someone to do the repairs? Very important. This can affect your underwriting. These are for smaller properties. Whereas the bigger ones, since their payroll team are on staff, they handle most of the repairs, except the ones that need technical people specialists to do them. Things like HVAC, maybe roof damage, and HVAC, boilers and all that. That's when they now contact the specialists to come and do them. But things like electrical, plumbing, just those normal regular repairs, they kind of engage the payroll team. So there are different business plans, like I earlier stated. How do you collect rent? So you need to ask them, how do you collect rent? Do you have, okay. So for a smaller company, a smaller property management company, they collect your rent and put them all in one account. So invariably, if they have 10 customers like you, they're going to put everybody's money in one account. Likely, that is the typical thing that they do. They do not randomly go and open separate accounts for those properties because they are very small. So, but for the bigger ones, they typically open separate accounts for those properties. So you need to ask them, how do you collect rent? Are you going to combine mine with all of your customers? At that point, you can start negotiating. Let's say you have a larger portfolio, like maybe 40 units, single family, or 30 of them. You can request that. Will you be open to having a different bank account for me so that my rent will go in? I do not want to merge my money with that of other of your clients. This is for smaller properties, but for the bigger ones, you also have to ask the question, how do you collect rent? They also need to create an account that you have access to, not for you to withdraw money from it, but for you to oversee what is going on, for you to have access to it, to pull out reports for your lender, for anybody. Maybe you need to do stuff, so you need to know what is in the account to take some decisions. You need to have access to your account. Please don't go there and start withdrawing money. That is not the idea of the entire thing. So how do you handle funds? You also need to ask them, where do you put my CapEx funds? Where do you put my operational funds? Where do you put my escrow funds? If they are the ones taking your escrow amount for you or paying your mortgage for, you need to ask them, how many accounts are you opening? How are you going to manage them? These are conversations you need to have before, not when you're already in the deal. I made that mistake on my first deal. I didn't ask all these questions. I went into the deal with the agreement. They told me 8%, and I thought that was it. I didn't know that there were other things added. It was when we signed the document, and that's they coming up with all the hidden charges, and I couldn't back out. So these are things you want to avoid and have that conversation. They say experience is the best teacher. We don't want you to have this experience. That's why we are having this, for everyone to learn.